Hey everyone, what is going on? Welcome to 2024. This is What If. It's Matt.
And it's Zach.
This is a little show that we like to do where we kind of think like, well, what if this did or did not happen? You know, what if somebody did one thing instead of another thing? Or what if this album bombed? Or random questions that we come up with that we can say, well, what if this happened? And it just so happened that Zach and I were talking about a little artist who you might have heard of.
You may have. She's on a few magazine covers.
She's on a few magazine covers. She's put out a few albums. She's recorded a few albums.
She re-recorded a few albums too.
Yeah, she re-recorded a few albums. You know, she had a little tour. She goes by the name of Taylor Swift. And we were thinking, well, what if... Because it seems like Taylor Swift and everything kind of took off again after it was announced that she was re-recording some albums. And what if she never did that? What if she just let somebody else own her music?
And, you know, first off, we're sorry if you came into this episode thinking, okay, 2023 is over. I don't have to hear about Taylor Swift again. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. But first off, you knew that wasn't going to happen. But second, I mean, listen, 2023 was such a massive year for Taylor Swift.
Tay-Tay.
For Tay-Tay, for the Swifties. I mean, her tour was the biggest tour in years, not just of the last year, but in years. She broke album release records without even releasing new music. Again, of re-recorded music. I mean, the 1989 Taylor version, as they call it, was just massive. And sorry, Matt, this might ruffle your feathers, but she kind of gave even NFL a big boost. I mean,
no.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure football fans were a little tired of hearing about Taylor Swift attending a Kansas City Chiefs game. But guess what? It brought a huge amount of attention and publicity to the NFL that they desperately needed, but we can get to that another time.
The NFL was nothing before Tay-Tay.
We can discuss that more later. But anyway, it was a massive year, but then as Matt mentioned, a lot of it was around the idea of her celebrating her catalog and the fact that she was releasing the Taylor versions of her albums. Now, first, I guess maybe a little sidetrack here. How the heck did we even get to the Taylor versions of her first 6 albums? Little quick history lesson, as I'm sure if you are a Swiftie or a Taylor Swift fan, you probably know this history really well, but this June actually marks 5 years since Scooter Braun, the infamous manager and just music business mogul responsible for, launching Justin Bieber's career and managing Kanye West at one point and Ariana Grande at another point. Well, in June of 2019, he bought Big Machine Records, Taylor's original label. So by buying Big Machine, he essentially bought the masters of Taylor Swift's first 6 albums. And you don't need to be a businessman to know that owning the masters to those 6 albums means big money. Big money that even Taylor was trying to get back in the year prior when she was negotiating a new contract before she decided to leave Big Machine. And pretty much right as Scooter Braun announced he was purchasing Big Machine and thus Taylor's catalog, Taylor issued a very in-depth letter criticizing the purchase and, really making an emotional plea for why this was horrible for her. And why it was horrible for her, because, she kind of echoed what a lot of musicians were feeling too, and that Scooter Braun himself was kind of a bully. In Taylor's instance, she was going through a bit of a feud with Kanye West over various things, and it was very well believed that Scooter Braun was kind of a big instigator in that feud as well, and kind of caused a lot of mental harm for Taylor. My work, my artistic representation, being owned by such a bully like Scooter, that's my worst nightmare. And a lot of fans and even critics resonated with this and really did sympathize with her. And then shortly after that letter, she basically announced, you know what? I own the publishing rights. Because for those who maybe are not as music industry savvy, there's both the master rights and the publishing rights. The label usually owns the master rights. So when you're a new artist, you usually sign those master rights away to the label just so you can get money to record and tour and be a big superstar. Not that uncommon. And it's one of those, unfortunately, as the artist becomes more popular, they realize, oh, wow, I really kind of screwed myself over by not having the masters. but she owns the publishing rights. She wasn't the sole songwriter on her songs, but she played a big role in the writing of her songs. So she gets publishing rights for that. So she announces, you know what? I'm going to re-record my first 6 albums when I'm legally allowed to. I'm going to do it as close to the original recordings as possible, and then I'm going to release them so that whenever someone listens to them on Spotify or any streaming platform that they want, instead of them buying a CD of Scooter Braun's Big Machine version of it, they're going to buy my version of it so that at least I can have a little control over it. And without, obviously her fans were like, yes, do this. This would be great. And sure enough, over the years, the only album she hasn't released yet, a re-recording version of it, is Reputation. But last year, she did, of course, 1989, and it was a huge hit. I mean, it's still on the charts right now. It's massive. But basically, what's even more astonishing is that not only have the fans accepted, like, yes, we will only listen to your versions, but even iHeartMedia has been like, all right, when these new versions come out, we dedicate to only playing these versions. So basically, and even Scooter Braun and the investors were like, yeah, we really thought she was kind of bluffing that she would do this. And she called their bluff and did it. She really did a great job at screwing over Scooter Braun and the industry itself by basically owning her rights back. Because now their investment is kind of pointless because sure, they have the masters, but now fans are going to be more inclined to get Taylor's version, as they are dubbing it. So little history there. But the reason why we're kind of talking about this is because, like we mentioned, last year, the Eras Tour, which is continuing on to this year too, biggest massive tour of the past few years. And it really played into just the catalog that she is celebrating, that she's re-recording. Of course, there's some of the she's released a lot of new albums and music since 2019 as well, of course, those songs have played a role in the set list, but it's almost kind of like an unspoken celebration of, look at the catalog I've basically reclaimed for myself. And I guess the question here is, what if she didn't re-record those albums? What if she instead was bluffing and said, you know what, I'm not going to re-record it. It's not worth the expense. It's not worth the gamble. And she didn't take that gamble. Would 2023 have been as big of a year for Taylor? Matt, I have my thoughts. I don't know if you wanted to chime in first.
I mean, it's been a while since she's toured. So right off the bat, people are going to jump immediately to go grab tickets for Taylor Swift. I think because of who Taylor Swift is and what she represents on a deeper level than just the music, I think that she's an inspiration to a lot of people. I actually did the other day see the Eras Tour film. Hard to believe, I know, but I did watch it. My mom, while we were over there for Christmas, she wanted to see it, so we ended up watching it. And I can understand why people would go to see it. It's a huge theatrical performance. It's not just the music. There's so much that goes into it. And it's a great show. But I think because of, the way that she's been so outspoken and the way that she's represented a female audience and the way that she's just represented what a strong, well-spoken, poised individual can get across instead of, slinging mud or talking shit about people, how powerful that message can be if it's delivered the right way. I think that plays a huge part into people now wanting to stand behind her and her music now that she's gotten it back from essentially a bully who she didn't let bully her. So she used her own message to win a fight, do what she had to do, and now is celebrating it.
But do you think, I agree with all of what you just said, 100%. And by the way, I am Team Swiftie as well. But do you think that, because nothing against the new music she's released since then, there's definitely been some hits. And even like Cruel Summer, which was essentially kind of a deep track on her album Lover that this past year just gained a huge resurgence. I mean, do you think that those newer songs would have been enough to cement her as the almost now guaranteed legend that she has become? I would almost argue that in addition to basically like being an enormous power play and a show of strength, these re-recordings have done an amazing job also making critics revisit these albums and kind of, especially those critics who maybe written her off as oh, she's just the hot flash in the pan of the moment. And we go, you know what? No, we were wrong. Like, these songs really are good. Like, there is a level of emotional depth that we did not give it credit. Like, I almost feel like the past 3 years alone, maybe even 5, have done just a great job at really making people reevaluate Taylor's legacy and realize, you know what? No, this really is an artist worth celebrating for many, many years to come. It's not just the hot artist of the month.
I think she's proven to be more than just kind of like a flash in the pan type deal. She can release a bad album or release some bad music, but I think she does it with such integrity behind it because it's her art, right? She's the main songwriter on a lot of this, like you said earlier, and she crafts different worlds and different experiences. Like, I would almost compare her, and I'm sorry if this might be too in depth for some of the audience listening to this, or if it's not great and you understand what I'm saying, but I would almost kind of relate her a little bit to like a Bruce Springsteen,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
She writes with such meaning, and it's almost like storybook telling type of music. And like the one album, I think it was Folklore, that she
Mm-hmm.
kind of just crafted a whole new world and characters, and she essentially wrote a book to put out an album. And Bruce Springsteen just very similarly crafts experiences and characters and very different relatable scenarios through these characters. And it's not just very shallow music. Like, I don't know why this popped in my head, but listening and learning about this, because I'll say this, I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan. I've never been, just because I don't particularly listen to that type of music at all.
It's not your
But
bag.
just learning about how much she wrote about this, the first thing that popped in my mind is like, she puts so much thought into her art that it really is art. And there's artists that are out there like, and once again, sorry if this goes over some people's heads, but artists like Buck Cherry that just release utter like crap music.
Sorry, we went from talking about Taylor Swift to Buck Cherry. I mean, I get it, it's fair. You're making an example of how here's a band that did crap versus here's an artist who did art. Just was not prepared to hear Buck Cherry during this conversation. But continue, please.
It's like there's these different levels of like songwriting, and Taylor Swift and the way that she crafts everything to be exactly the way that she wants it to be. It just goes to show that there's art here and there's messages here that are stupidly personal and resonate on levels that a band like a Buck Cherry would never, ever, ever, see what it did there? Would never, ever get to, that they would never get to, and people would never resonate with. Like, people
I
can
need to
pick
shake
out,
this one off. I need to shake this off.
you better shake it off, because the haters are going to hate, hate, hate. But
Ugh, I
I
knew
just
you were
think,
trouble once we started to discuss this.
all right,
This
you
is
know
the
what?
fun section of the
If you
episode, by the
keep
way.
this up, we're never ever getting back together. Okay,
You brought it back full circle.
there we go. But I think that there is a level here that is absolutely worth like investing some time in, because I invested time that I've never invested in Taylor Swift before to get ready for this, because I had no clue outside of a few songs. Like, honestly, I knew like Shake It Off, and I knew the Romeo and Juliet song, and I don't even know the right title for that song, and I'll admit it, I don't. But
Yeah.
there is a lot here that you have to respect. And knowing that, she just did all of this, like, I don't think like a band like a Buck Cherry would ever, try to get their mastering rights back, and because,
Well,
or
it's
figure out
it's
a
funny
way
you say
around.
that. It's funny you say that because I mean, first off, there's no way Buck Cherry could afford to ever do this. But I think, while I'm sure her actions, at least her speaking up, has influenced a lot of how artists are dealing with record contracts now. The one trend I was a little nervous was going to happen that hasn't really happened, thankfully, was more bands going, "Oh, I should just re-record my songs and take since I own the publishing rights and just take back the masters, because I think that would have been the wrong lesson to learn from all this. Namely, in that Taylor Swift is probably one of the few artists that not only could afford
Right.
to re-record it,
She had the
her
means to
note,
do it. Absolutely.
but also the gamble. Like I mentioned about taking the gamble to do it, but let's also be honest. Not many fans of other artists would have been so devoted to listening to an artist's original versions or their new versions per se. Not many artists would have gotten the backing of a huge company like iHeartMedia to be like, no, we will only play this version of the song, because it's also very remarkable that even iHeartRadio agreed to do it. Because yes, Taylor Swift is, and I think it's a testament to how huge Taylor Swift is. But let's also be real. When iHeartMedia is a company, and they do business with other companies, not artists necessarily, as much as we love to think that they're artist friendly. So for them to actually take the stand and stand by Taylor is huge. They would never, there's very few other artists that could even get their door into a room with that kind of company to make that agreement.
And
Very few artists could have. So I'm kind of glad that that trend didn't happen.
And that's why I'm saying, like, she, at that point, she's definitely not a flash in the pan. If you've got these big businesses that are negotiating with not a little Taylor Swift, right? This is mega star Taylor Swift that will have some impact on the way that you do business if, you screw her the way that she was screwed.
I loved your comparison to her to Bruce Springsteen. I would 100% argue that she is this generation's Bruce Springsteen. And not just in the way that she crafts her songs either, but even in the way that she engages with the fans and makes her fans feel as if they are part of a larger community, just something larger than just the music itself.
Super smart business.
It's extremely, I mean, it's almost like Grateful Dead type of business too. You create the culture. Someone had asked me over the summer, what do you think of all the fans dressing up and going to Taylor Swift concerts? And I'm like, I love it. I love that they are almost going to these shows in a uniform, or almost like that they've created a culture where they're literally exchanging handmade bracelets with each other. I love it. It's that type of personal engagement that we are lacking in music. I absolutely love that exists. That goes even beyond what Bruce has done, but like kind of similar. Like when you go to a Bruce Springsteen concert, you feel you're part of a larger thing, that here is a larger than life figure on stage, and you still feel like you know him, that he's one of us on stage, putting on this massive rock show. And I think that's what makes Taylor special too, is that she is both this larger than life figure on stage, but also someone that you actually feel like that you want to root for, because she could be just that random fan at a Chiefs game cheering on her favorite team along with you as well. It's so rare to have an artist that can both make you like go when she enters a room, but also make you feel like you want to go chat with her as if she's your best friend.
And it's funny because her culture is what led her and Travis Kelce to actually get together.
Yeah, I think that's what also makes it so romantic, is that he tried so hard to get her. He even gave her a bracelet with his number on it. Like, how can you not want these two to be in love? How can you ever even think that that's not real? Someone was like, "Oh, that's so fake." I'm like, listen, if we find out it's fake, I'm not going to be 100% shocked. But gosh darn it, I want it to be real. I want Travis and Taylor to be real.
Hold on. I don't understand
How
how people could think that it's fake. Like, you have
because people don't
two different
they don't want to
worlds.
believe that true love exists. That's what it is. You know what I also loved about this, and this is getting totally gossipy right now, and this is not even about the music anymore, but even just
Dish, honey, dish.
I'm gonna dish. I won't shake this off. No, what I actually loved is, first you see her actually engaged yes, it's in the VIP box at the games, but she's
I
still
would
cheering
hope
on.
so.
Yeah, but she's still like actually like having fun, chatting with his mom, like, cheering on. But what I also love is that then you see footage of him at her concerts post them starting to date, and he is just as engaged and cheering her on as if it was the other way around. Like, that level of support is what you dream of in a partner, that they'll be you're as big of a cheerleader for you in your office or in your line of work as you are for them. That's kind of when I was like, no, this is definitely real. The way that he's just like so proud of her and just so like, yeah, you got like just having the time of his life too. Like you don't see that in celebrity couples that much. Too. Like that's what also makes that so lovely. And as I hinted before, the NFL owes them both huge, huge, huge amounts of gratitude. And you're also a huge football fan.
Yes, huge.
As a football fan, Matt,
Mm-hmm.
have you been annoyed by how much Taylor Swift has popped up in the NFL games?
In the beginning, yes, but they toned it down a little bit. I think
Why were
all
you
that.
so annoyed by it?
Why? Because it's like every 5 seconds, what's Taylor Swift doing? What's Taylor Swift doing? Taylor Swift. Oh, here's some things about Taylor Swift. Like we're here for a football game. Like,
Well, some you could argue
stop.
that it was more interesting than a football game. Is how many chicken
No,
fingers did she have?
no, I don't. Not at all. I'm 100% in the football camp on here. I would rather watch a football game when I'm watching a football game than watch half of a football game and listen to some notes about Taylor Swift because
See, I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
it's a storyline that they're forcing in or that they were forcing more in the beginning than later on. Like if they show her a couple times in a game, they don't dwell on it as much because like the first couple of weeks I remember that they kept like just going back to the box, and Tony Romo, when he was doing the games, he was just talking about her incessantly, and it got annoying. Like,
Well, I
can
can see
we?
it getting a little
Oh,
awkward when it's Tony Romo doing it too. It's like because
oh
it's
yeah.
like he's he's a Swiftie. He's been like
Well,
if he didn't have a job, he'd be just following Taylor.
well, don't forget that he also dated Jessica Simpson back in the day too.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So of all people, it's like you should know, like you're here for football.
Oh
Like
no,
you went
he's
through this
jealous.
yourself.
Oh no, he was jealous. It's like, oh, if I'm gonna go through crap, Travis is gonna go through crap too. Let's do this. Eye for an eye.
Yeah.
I will also say though that for any NFL fan who really does complain, criticize the Taylor Swift coverage, let's also be honest here. NFL has had a kind of rough time in the past few years of keeping younger fans engaged. And this is a hell of a great way to like at least get some younger fans who maybe were like, "Oh, Taylor Swift," to now be like, "All right, I'll watch the game a little bit more with my dad or with my family." And I gotta believe that like there's a few new younger fans because of Taylor Swift joining in.
I don't know if they're the types that just buy the jerseys that have his number and it says Swiftie across the back. I don't think that they're gonna be a football fan.
I
I
don't
think they're
know.
just there. They're just there to see her. That's it.
I don't know. But we could also but now we could also though argue that if it wasn't for those re-recorded albums, it would just be
It's a
another pop
possibility.
star. And that goes back to what we were talking about too. Is that I really do feel like, well, of course, her tour, regardless of uh, her re-recording her albums, would have been the biggest tour of the year, and maybe even a big event too. But I do feel like, not that these re-recorded albums like gave her more steam and gave her career a boost. It kind of just further cemented her as the larger than life star. That it's more than just the top singer on the charts with a new song. It made people revisit her catalog, and it made people go, you know what? No, she was really freaking great.
And
I
their
mean,
new takes on her
1989.
catalog too. But
Yeah,
let's not forget that they're new. They're as close to the original recordings as possible with enhancements to it.
yeah,
So it is something new to listen to. It's not that it's just the same
and
thing
so,
over again.
and some tracks that were left in the vaults that are now being brought out, and even just a 10-minute version of oh god, I'm blanking on the song from I think it was Red.
All too well.
Yes,
See,
the
I know things.
longest, the longest, and I think that's become the longest song to reach #1 on the charts. I think that's the new record for that, and I mean again, that's an older song too. I don't know. I feel like it's just further cements that like Taylor is the exception to almost every rule.
she's venturing into territories that some people don't have the means to, but had the balls to.
Yeah.
And then some artists may have had the means to, but they didn't have the balls to pull it off. She's kind of putting it out there that, no, I'm taking back what I wrote because they're personal experiences, and I have the money to back up what I'm doing. So let's do this.
Yeah. And good for her. And that's why she deserves to have been named Times Person of the Year in 2023.
And this is kind of the way that I equate this, is for her to permeate my life, because I've never really paid attention to Taylor Swift, and I've never given her like a second thought. Like when you hear a song like, oh yeah, that's Taylor Swift. Like there were so many songs on the Eras tour that I've heard before and I've never associated as Taylor Swift. So that was kind of eye-opening. But for her to permeate my life and for me to be talking about her as much as I've talked about her over the last 6 to 8 months, really shows like the power of Taylor Swift and just everything else that she's done. Not a surprise that they named her the Person of the Year. Plus, she's just stupidly nice to everybody, and the amount that she's reportedly been giving like away to the people who have helped her, like her drivers and dancers and everybody.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's
huge amount of money had gone back to just the crew.
And she sparked the economy from the tour too, which that's another huge thing.
Absolutely. I mean, we've gone into, the Ticketmaster dynamic pricing and just concert fee ridiculousness that because of the chaos that's happened with fans trying to buy her tickets, it's almost like brought to life of how bad Ticketmaster is. You can listen to the past Am I Missing Something episode to learn more about that though. But like, it's one of those like, why is Taylor Swift Person of the Year? Well, more like, no crap. Did you really think she wouldn't be? Like even Jimmy Fallon had the best jokes. Like, so the running ups are this, and Taylor Swift. And if I had to guess, it's Taylor Swift. Come on, it's Taylor Swift. Like, duh.
It had to be.
Yeah.
Like, I know some people are going to be listening to this and going to be like, no, it should have been somebody more political or somebody who was helping like climate.
No.
She actually kind of dipped her toe into a lot of different areas that she had no business dipping her toe in. Like, who thought that the economic boost that was raised from a concert, let alone it being Taylor Swift, was going to be a conversation piece that we would be having right now? Like there's no way that you would link an economic boom, no matter how small it was, a little economic boom being attributed to Taylor Swift. Like that's an unlikely thing.
Well said. Well, what do you think, listeners? Swifties who tuned into this episode and still aren't really sure what the hell we're talking about. What do you think? Do you think 2023 would have been the banner year for Taylor Swift? It would have been if she had not re-recorded her albums.
2023 is the holy ground for Taylor Swift.
And also, let us know what you think, what predictions you have for Taylor Swift in 2024. Will she release her re-recorded version of Reputation this year, or will she wait a year? Is new music on horizon this year? Who knows? There's so many theories going out that if we could spend another hour just going down that rabbit hole, but we'll spare you that. I don't know why, but I think we're better off not going down that rabbit hole. But let us know what you think on Facebook, Instagram, X/Twitter, whatever they still call it, TikTok, Threads. Are you still on Threads? Is that still a thing in 2024? If it is, cool. Thanks for following us at Epic Footnote. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We can hear more episodes like this about various types of artists. And also a special thank you to Lucky 13 Beard Co.
If you haven't already done so, and if you happen to know a Swiftie in your life that has a luscious beard, you might want to consider picking up an after the holidays gift because maybe you left them out on your Christmas shopping.
Shame on you for doing that.
Head on over to Lucky13, the number beardco.com. They have got some of the best beard balms and oils that you are going to find out there today. They have so many good scents, including one of our own that we call the Lemmy, in tribute to Lemmy, the former leader of Motorhead, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago, but it smells of bourbon, tobacco, cola, and leather, all the things that he was about. It smells fantastic. Maybe if that's not your thing, and you like something a little bit more on the tropical side, well, he's got scents that fill that role too. So make sure that you head on over to their website and use the code EFP10 at checkout. We're going to give you 10% off of your entire order, no matter what's in your cart. Use the code 10% off, Lucky13, the number beardco.com.
And I'm just saying, Travis has a beautiful beard. So, any football fans in your life too that maybe you kind of annoyed with all the Taylor talk while they're watching the NFL game, this is a great way to say, like, here's a beard oil that you like.
It's the best way to tell them to shake it off.
Yeah, there you go. Boom, boom, boom. And you know what? I'm going to make a deal for you all. Any Swifties that are actually listening to this. If you make us, Matt or I, a Taylor Swift Eras Tour bracelet, we will not only make a bracelet for you as well, but we will also give you an Epic Footnote t-shirt, an Epic Footnote hat, or an Epic Footnote coffee mug. If you don't want to go through the hassle of making a bracelet, break our hearts, but fine. You can also buy any of those cool merchandise products at our merch store that you can find on.
There's going to be some bad blood between us.
There will be bad blood of us if you don't give us a bracelet. I don't want to put guilt on you, but maybe now we'll have bad blood. Cue in the Kendrick Lamar verse. I almost said Kanye. But thank you guys for listening. Thanks for letting us start off 2024 by talking about one of the biggest stories of 2023. We hope you join us for another episode. Real soon.
2024, it's our blank space. See ya.
Oh!